Okay, so this is like to replace my second assignment, the one I have a 0 for. So it's an after dinner speech. But anyway, okay. So today I'm going to inform y'all about why you shouldn't always put all your eggs in one basket. And by doing so, I'm going to tell you a story that my grandfather told me. So here we go. Alright, so my grandparents, they were renovating the house one day, their old house. This is maybe 40 to 50 years ago, and they were taking down the back panel on the back wall next to the bathroom, and they were taking down the panels, and they were rearranging stuff, organizing, and just doing stuff, you would do if you were, renovating the house. So, well, with that said, he took off one of the bottom panels, and at the bottom panel, there was, like, this piece of paper, like an old piece of paper. So, he looked at it, and the paper was wrapped up in twine that looked like it was dated early 1800s in the paper as well. It looked like it was also dated very far back. So he opened up the paper, and inside it said like a treasure map and whatnot, and it would tell you where you'd have to stand in the yard to as a starting place, kind of, for where to find the treasure. So you would start there, you'd walk a certain amount of steps going frontwards, and then a certain amount of steps going right, then left, and all that stuff. But anyway, back to the letter. So the letter looked very old. It looked dated. It looked like it was from the 1800s at least. And the ink was like from a berry, like a juice of a berry. And you can tell it was written with like a feather at the time. So my grandfather believed that this was actually a treasure map, because the house itself is, I think it was built in the early 1800s, so it would be reasonable, I guess you could assume. But so he did that, he assumed, and so he went out in the back and he stood where it said to stand, which is, I believe, like around where the big oak tree is in the backyard. So the backyard is like it's a big circle pretty much, and it's like one massive oak tree in the middle. So the note said to stand in the back of the oak tree on the back side facing the field. So he went and did that. He walked a certain amount of steps to go frontwards, and a certain amount of steps go right and left. He did all that, and then he had a shovel with him, so he put the shovel down on the ground, and then he called up one of his buddies and told him to come down here. They're going to find some treasure and whatnot, so that way, he would be easier to dig the hole. So his buddy gets down here. He also brought a shovel, some sandwiches, and some food, because they figured they'd probably be here for a while. So they started digging the hole in the ground and whatnot, and they kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, to the point where the hole was getting like 7 or 8 feet deep, and it was getting very, very hard to get out without very hard to get out without using like a ladder or a rope or something like that. But then it started to rain, so that made everything worse, and my grandpappy ended up getting stuck in the hole as he was trying to dig it. So he was calling for his wife, Nancy, my grandmother, to come and help him get him out. Well, she came up here, and she started asking, what are you doing, buddy? She said, that's his name, buddy. And he was telling her about the treasure map and all that stuff and whatnot. And Nancy, my grandmother, was saying, you sure Morris didn't do that? Morris is Nancy's brother, older brother, no, younger brother, excuse me. So she said, are you sure that, old Morris didn't plant that thing a while back? He's pretty prone to doing pranks and whatnot. And Buddy got to thinking and started wondering, and he didn't say much, but he said, you better call him right now. So Nancy went back in the house, and she got on the phone, and she dialed up Morris, and this is how the conversation went. Morris answered the phone, and then Nancy said, hey, Morris, you wouldn't have by chance written a letter and dropped it in the back panel next to the bathroom, would you? And first thing Morris said is, you found it? You found it? You really found it? So they kind of gave it away that was the whole thing right there. So Nancy went back outside where my grandfather, Buddy, was still having trouble getting out of the hole because it was raining and it was very deep. So she had to put a ladder in there, help him get him out. Buddy already got out. The Buddy left about midway through. But yeah, so they got the ladder, they got him out, and he started cussing up a storm. He was saying all kinds of things. He was mad, upset, he was ticked off. So he ended up getting on the phone with Morris, telling him you shouldn't play a prank on somebody like that. because it's not right, he said. So he ended up going to Morris's house, and Morris had to apologize and whatnot. But that's what happened. So today we're going to recap on, some stuff you probably shouldn't do, and hopefully learn something from the story. One being, don't always trust everything that you see or find, because it may not be true, or may be like distorted, or may not be something that is what you thought it is, pretty much. So that's not always the best thing to do. So be wise about it. Don't rush into anything. Take your time and reason through it rationally. That way you don't find yourself in a 7-foot hole while training and finding it really hard to get out of. So just be careful and do what y'all do best. Thank you.